It's the PokerNews Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 927 of the PokerNews Podcast. I am Chad Holloway, joined this week by Connor Richards at Level 9 Studio in Las Vegas. It is our Thanksgiving Day episode as this is coming out Thanksgiving morning. So those of you in the United States who are celebrating may be listening, a happy Thanksgiving to you. Unfortunately, Ben Ludlow is back east with his family for Thanksgiving. And Mike, I don't know what's going on with Mike. I usually message him the morning of the podcast and he says, I overslept. I'll be there as soon as possible. And he hasn't responded today. So Mike, I don't know what's going on. Happy Thanksgiving to you, my friend. But me and Connor will take this one. We are going to talk about the drama involving the World Series of Poker documentary, No Limit, of which I was a part of, and the AI debacle that came around there when it was revealed that some fabricated quotes were used. We'll get into that. We're going to talk about a controversial WPT tweet. Well, actually, it was ClubWPT Gold'd tweet that our friend Connor Abby Merk got involved with. We're going to talk about Stephen Jones once again, not Squid Game. This time he was at a big time charity event in Las Vegas that Connor was also at. We're going to talk about why we pissed off Shaun Deeb, accidentally, of course, and recent tournament winners. And Connor, let's just start about this WSOP documentary, No Limit. First off, before they pulled the episodes from YouTube, did you get a chance to watch?
I don't know if I was fully caught up, but I definitely watched a couple of episodes and once all the controversy got and they pulled the last episode, I had watched the most recent episode as well, which I think was episode 6.
I think you got further than I did. I think I was through episode 4.
You're all in there, Chad. You got to see yourself. I told you.
I was actually looking forward to sharing the documentary with some of my family today on Thanksgiving when we're all around. It's going to throw it on the screen, let them watch it, and be proud of being a part of it. But unfortunately, they can't do that because this whole situation unfolded in which Alan Keating, we love Alan Keating, you know him from Hustler Casino Live, High Stakes Cash Games, one of the biggest personalities in poker. I personally love Alan Keating. Used to play Ultimate Werewolf at his apartment at Panorama Towers way back in the day.
Wow.
He had tweeted that he was unhappy, essentially, because some liberties were taken in the editing process of the documentary in which AI was used to bridge the gap, if you will, in some of the storytelling. So they used AI to replicate his voice, to say some things that he technically didn't say, right? So because they thought would help tighten up the storyline. Dustin Iannetti, who was I don't know what his exact title is, but he was the man behind this documentary that GG Poker put on during the World Series of Poker Paradise last summer. Connor, you and I were both there. We saw this in action. I'm sure you remember.
Yeah, I think I can see myself in 1 or 2 shots darting through the hallway to go live report. I didn't get interviewed like you, Chad, but I was technically in there before it got removed. So
some of the quotes, I guess, that were said were things like Alan Keating saying, I don't even like tournaments. I like putting people in tough spots, testing their will, and then ripping their heads off. I think I'm more comfortable in some difficult situations than most. If I do, I have an advantage. That might be it. And then others like, should we go play cash? I think cash games are a bigger test of the man than tournaments. Could we find a cash game? Alan Keating, says, I didn't say these things. Dustin affirms this. He put out a social media tweet that's since been deleted saying that regarding Alan Keating's concerns, we use AI technology on 2 brief sequences during post-production, totaling approximately 10 seconds across the 55 total minutes of episode 5 and 6. As we've discussed with Alan directly, we should have consulted with him on these editorial choices. There was a little bit more there. We stand by our work and the overall integrity of the docuseries. Mr. Keating, Alan Keating responded, this doesn't deserve a reply and you know why. This blew up, Connor, in a big way.
Completely blew up, yeah. No.
What was your take reading it from the outside?
Well, so just talking about how it blew up. So I think Jennifer Tilly is one of the big stars who quote tweeted this and got some attention on it. But then, it even reached like right-wing conservative circles. So Tim Pool, who's kind of ventured into poker recently, he got word of this and he tweeted something about it. My take overall, and I come at this from the background as somebody who's a writer and a journalist. Chad, you had a really good tweet about this where you talked about kind of like the small liberties that writers or journalists will take when kind of cleaning up quotes, if you will. And I think this is an interesting question. I tend to be kind of more on the purist side where you should keep everything the same, but I am like you where I'll take out things like the ums or the or things that just kind of tighten things up. Of course, this takes it to a totally different realm where you're kind of concocting sentences. One thing I will point out, though, is that, these are things that are in the spirit of what Alan Keating was saying. It'd be totally different if they used his voice to like endorse a presidential candidate he didn't support or something like that. So I think it is worth noting that this was all in the spirit of the things that he was going to say. That being said, my opinion as a journalist is it's totally inappropriate. I can totally see how AI can be a useful tool in the editing process for transcribing things or, analyzing the whole product. But just to kind of concoct together sentences, I just think it's problematic because it just kind of betrays the trust of the viewer. This is a documentary, right? And there's an understanding that documentaries are real life and they're objective and they're not scripted. And so, and I don't know, Dustin says that this was apparently a placeholder that wasn't supposed to make it into the final product, but just the whole idea that this wasn't disclosed, WSOP apparently wasn't even aware of it. The audience certainly wasn't aware of it. And even the subjects weren't aware of it. It's just a bit of a breach of journalistic ethics, but everyone's out with their pitchforks. I'm kind of sympathetic to Dustin. I feel like this is a new thing. This is a new technology. It seems like he's kind of the first one who kind of, messed up a little bit and now has to bear all of the public scrutiny, basically. So, I mean, yeah, this is new technology. This is going to become a problem. We're going to start seeing the effects of AI. I know I've been rambling.
We're going to talk about it in a little bit. It was already a problem for us at Poker News on the same day that this started blowing up, and we'll get into that here in a minute. But you're absolutely right, Connor. This thing just blew up and largely amplified by some of the people that you mentioned. I do think there's a lot of misconceptions from what I am reading out there that those who are mistakenly under the impression that the whole documentary is AI,
right,
or that things were way taken out of context and AI was used to, for larger portions, if you will. As Dustin Ionetti said, it was approximately 10 seconds of the 55-minute episode. Whether or not there was more later on, who knows? But it's definitely wasn't like, they use AI to put huge portions of the documentary in there. And I think a lot of people are under the misconception of that who just really didn't dive into the story. So just wanted to clear that up. Alex Keating, not Alan Keating, so two different people. Alex Keating was also in the documentary and tweeted that they had used a fake voice for him as well and edited things out of context, that he never agreed to this, that they don't get paid. And I can confirm I was part of this documentary. I did not get paid. They do it to help the show and grow the game. It's a favor. Indeed, I echo those sentiments. And from his perspective as a player, they miss breaks. They take time out of their day away from the tables. They have to sign extra forms, et cetera, et cetera. And he felt very disrespected by that. And I think rightfully so. Ultimately, the World Series of Poker released a tweet saying that the WSOP has recently learned that AI-generated content was used in the No Limit docuseries to alter players' words without authorization. We have removed the videos and will redo the editing to ensure the final product reflects our standards, and then apologized. Yeah, I mean, I did put out a tweet, like you said, Connor, kind of offering my thoughts. Now, granted, maybe I'm a little biased because I was part of the documentary, but trying to remove that bias. See, I do, as somebody who's written, who's edited podcasts, who's done certain things, I do believe that there was no malicious intent. I know Dustin Ionetti, he's been around a very long time. I think part of the backlash stems from, I think back in April, he had released a tweet criticizing other poker content creators and saying that he was going to bring something huge to the market. And I think that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. I don't think the docuseries was maybe as great as some people expected. I enjoyed it actually a lot. I thought it was pretty good, but I know a lot of people didn't. And I don't know, this makes me sad all around because I do believe the intentions were good by Dustin Ionetti. I do believe the intentions were good by GG, and to help potentially grow the game. That's why I participated in it, and to shine a positive light on something that we can be proud of and share with our friends and family. And now it's marred by all of this.
No, it's definitely unfortunate, but just to go back to that tweet that you talked about, I do think that Dustin was playing a bit of a dangerous game here where he had this viral tweet back in April, but it kind of came at the expense of, honestly, as I read it, the entire poker community. I think he called, the poker industry creatively bankrupt. He talked about how we haven't had anything since Rounders. We haven't had a Queen's Gambit. And Chad, you and I, we have our own criticisms of the industry or directions we think it should be going. But, as somebody who writes stories and who works in poker, I took a bit of offense to that. I'm not necessarily a creator, but he basically had a huge burden to really follow through with this documentary. And like you said, it is well made. There are some good storylines, probably a little lackluster considering his big tweet hyping it up. And of course, now that it's all marred with controversy, he just kind of has to live up with that tweet. But yeah, just an unfortunate situation. But hopefully they get it back up on YouTube and you can show your family, Chad.
I did enjoy it. I was a big part of Kristen Foxen's storyline because she was being inducted into the Women Poker Hall of Fame back then, and she wasn't in Vegas for it. She was at WSOP Paradise. So Lupe Soto asked me if I could help facilitate that, took the trophy, presented it. And it was actually during that time that Dustin Ionetti and the rest of the documentary filmmakers noticed what we were doing and said, hey, can we film you guys filming that? And that ultimately made it in. And then that led to me also offering my thoughts to some other players. Basically, like, I don't know, my role was to provide context, right? As like a talking head. I know that Abby, Merk, who we'll talk about in a moment, Jeff Platt, and some others were kind of in a similar role. You mentioned, like Queen's Gambit. It reminded me of a tweet thread from Ben Boianovsky, very well respected within the poker community. He tweeted on the 23rd of November, it was a thread of a dozen different tweets. I'm not going to read them all. The first was, the poker boom is not coming back. It was fueled by a dream that has been killed and dissected deliberately. Then an everyman had a puncher's chance to get in the ring with the best in the world and emerge triumphant and rich. Goes on to say that essentially the game has evolved to a point of, robots, solvers, and that everyman doesn't have a puncher's chance anymore, that there is nothing that's going to bring the poker boom back. And I thought it was a very interesting thread. I thought it was very poignant and kind of right on the money. Connor, did you see this tweet by him and the surrounding discussion?
I did see that. And like you, I totally agree with it. It also kind of reminds me of recent discussions of how Vegas has become so unfriendly to like low income or middle class tourists and how they're just gouging everyone left and right. I feel like the same is kind of true where poker has changed to where there's not as much the reality that the everyman can, emerge victorious. Although these things do happen. I'm thinking a couple years ago about the guy in the 2021 WSOP main event who got heads up against Karai Aldemir. That was just a home game hero. These things do happen, but I do largely agree. As somebody who saw my dad really into poker during the poker boom, and then as somebody who got into it myself 15 or 20 years later, I totally see a change in the ecosystem. And it really does just feel like there was a magic of the poker boom that really can't be replaced. And we hear it all the time that, we need a new TV show that's going to be the next thing or something that is going to be interesting for a mainstream audience. But it's just, poker is different now. And like you said, a lot of it's GTO and robots, which funny enough gets us to that ClubWPT Gold'd tweet. I don't know if that's the next thing we're talking about, but I'm sure we will.
Yeah, we'll transition into it. So ClubWPT Gold'd tweeted on November 19th. So this is a little while ago, almost 1 million views on this. It says GTO players took this fun from us. And it was a video that was originally shared by Shishimi of what turned out to be a girls' poker night. And one of the girls gets on the table and is, I don't know, twerking, legs out there, and the rest are spreading chips. It's very sensual. It was quite the topic, if you will, some for, some against in the poker world. Foremost among them was our friend Connor, Abby Merk, again, saying another unbelievably disappointing post from ClubWPT Gold'd. Part of having a platform is knowing how to use it. What could possibly have been the point of this except for to get clicked by demeaning women? GTO players took this from us as if this is what you want to see women reduced to sex symbols in the industry, ? Lame as fuck. Do you do better? And look, ClubWPT Gold'd, their marketing strategy for pretty much this entire year has been a little more risque, has been more controversial, has been against what you might call traditional marketing aspects, right? Like they're leaning into a lot of the controversy. They don't mind upsetting people. Seriously Serious Thomas, who I know is behind that, Jamie Kerstetter, part of that team. And yeah, I have mixed feelings on it, Connor, but let's start with the original post. As you mentioned, what did you make of it? You for, against, indifferent?
Well, yeah, this is interesting because there's like posting and reposting. So the original post from Sashimi, I think whatever. She is known as a crazy LA private game high stakes player playing on Hustler Casino Live and stuff. This is on brand for her. I don't think anybody really cares about that. ClubWPT Gold'd then sharing the video, kind of like we were saying, the whole GTO players, ruin the game. That's kind of a trope in poker. So them using it as just like a funny punchline, I think is innocent enough. But no, I think Abby does have a point when you think about it. And like you said, you look at kind of the overall branding style. They do try and be edgier. And again, that has its pros and cons, right? On the one hand, it's funny and authentic. On the other hand, it risks offending people or being insensitive in certain areas. So Abby, of course, got a ton of hate from everybody for her comments, but I don't think it's really warranted because, if you look at Abby's tweet, I think it's very apparent that she's being genuine and just has, like a genuine concern with how women are represented. So again, just she's expressing a genuine concern. I don't think people need to go after her with pitchforks or whatever because of that. I can understand if some people have the opinion, hey, Abby, it seems hypocritical for you to be this or whatever. But certainly this whole thing was blown out of proportion. I thought that the tweet was, again, there have been ClubWPT Gold's that posts that I thought have been over the line. One of them from the summer was they did like some sort of 9/11 Twin Tower parody. I think that's just beyond the pale. But again, this is kind of the social media era we're in where shock sells, and yeah.
I mean, and look, for better or worse, not getting too political, like the current state of affairs in the United States, a lot of things that were faux pas are kind of being allowed now, if you will, right?
You said it. I've called this all very Trumpian, and I wasn't going to get political, but I do think it ties into the political culture of kind of like, yeah, I said that, so what, screw you type of thing. And again, maybe pros and cons to it. Just quickly, I want to go back to something I said just because Abby's a friend of mine. I don't think that she was being hypocritical. I know that I said she was getting criticism for that, but like I said, I think Abby, she's a great ambassador for the game, and she had an authentic position and she shared it. And hey, she went on to win a poker tournament. So shout out to Abby.
Yeah. That poker tournament that she won, we'll get back to the topic in a moment, but she did tweet, she's over at the Asia Poker Tour Championship. She got an invite, which I was very excited to see. She's a great content creator and rising in the poker world. She was over there and had a lot of fun, won a tournament. It was, I think, a pineapple tournament because at the end she said pineapple with all caps and a lot of exclamation points. There was a lot of congratulations, and by all means, congratulations, Abby. What I didn't like to see is some of the comments calling out like, oh, you didn't say how much it was or how many players that there was. Can't you just let somebody enjoy the moment? Like I've won a 20-person, I've won the 2019 inaugural Poker Industry Championship, which had 19 runners. And I'm still damn proud of it. I got a Run Good Poker Series ring for it. And I like to tell people, it took the World Series of Poker main event 5 years to reach that size of a field. So I get it, but like we're all poker players. We just like to win, whether it's for a few $100s, thousands of dollars, maybe one day millions of dollars. I don't know. I just didn't like the pushback there. It was a good moment for Abby. I love seeing the winner's photo. And Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's always just people who just got to pull people down.
Oh, you don't have to tell me. My only live victory was a 19-person tournament, and I tweeted it, and I emailed the Hendon Mob and made sure it got put on my Hendon Mob profile. So I'm a huge believer in celebrate the victory, whatever it is. And yeah, I mean, that's just kind of emblematic of all the hate Abby gets online is whatever she does, she has kind of those trolls coming after her. So, I mean, honestly, she does a great job putting up with it and kind of shining past all that stuff. So, again, honestly, yeah, just keep doing you, Abby.
Yeah, it's not easy to be
it's not.
Yeah, especially a women in the poker world, whether it's content creator, player, especially those who put themselves out there. So I came up in poker news with some greats like Sarah Herring, Christy Arnett, who's now Christy Moreno, Gloria Balding, Lynn Gilmartin before she went to WPT. Like, these are, in my opinion, some of the best women presenters in the history of poker. And I learned a lot from them, foremost among them, getting a firsthand experience of what they had to deal with. And, I remember somebody saying, don't read the comments. And that's something I took to heart, even though I do read the comments. But especially for women, some of those comments can just be brutal, and have nothing to do with the content, personal attacks, appearance attacks, and stuff like that. So I applaud people who put themselves out there. Abby's there, Kina, who I co-host the MSPT podcast presented by PokerNews with. There's been others who have been in this discussion. Jennifer Newell, who I absolutely love. Haley Hanna, who's been my favorite Twitter follow as of late, because she's really getting in there and she doesn't hold back. Even Sarah O'Connor, who wrote a op-ed about this entire situation that has gotten some blowback. It's just this convoluted thing. Hopefully it's in the rearview mirror. Like I said, it's Thanksgiving. The other holidays are right around the corner. Let's see what what comes from this point. We got a lot of big tournament stops coming up, at least WSOP Paradise, EPT Prague, WPT World Championship. Hopefully some positive stories come here pretty soon. Wouldn't you agree, Connor?
Yeah, no, if only there was a documentary to hype us up for Paradise. Wouldn't that be great?
Well played. And then let's talk a positive story in the poker world, and that's charity. Always a good thing. Poker for decades has been a great vehicle for helping raise money for good causes. I don't even know how much money has been raised for charities through poker over the decades. It's incalculable at this point, but people like Matt Stout and the Charity Series of Poker have done great things. I've been a part of that. Phil Hellmuth has hosted many different charity events. In fact, he was the MC for I think it's the second annual Big Deal for One Drop charity event that took place at Resorts World during F1 weekend. It took place last year as well. I was there with you, Connor. I didn't get to go this year. I'm back home in Wisconsin, but you did get to go for a second year in a row, correct?
Yeah, I did. And once again, it was on the 66th floor at Resorts World. So just like these super scenic views, and it was awesome. I had a great time once again. And these are the benefits of one, working in poker media, but two, being located in Vegas is you're kind of one of the go-to people for cool assignments like this. So again, just one of those moments where I'm just like, yeah, I have the coolest job ever.
Welcome to the Big Deal for One Drop, where the lights shine, the stakes run high, and today, the biggest bet we're placing is in humanity.
Tournaments are so much fun because everybody's here for a good time and to donate money to the cause. Everyone's drinking and joking and throwing around insults, and I really enjoy it because the amount of money you can lose is finite, unless you go crazy with the rebuys, which I have in my pocket, clutched in my hot little hand, 3 rebuys because it's a good cause, but you're not going to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars, so it's relaxing.
Wow. This just came out the box. No, I mean, it's a great event. We raise a lot of money. I mean, Guy has been wonderful with Cirque du Soleil. He entertained the world, and now he's, giving the world water. So, very impressive guy.
Who are some of the people who you're excited to see here today?
Antonio's here. Jennifer Tilly and I filmed for 4 days last week. She beat the shit out of me.
Yeah, it was hosted by Phil Hellmuth. Jennifer Tilly was there. Antonio Asfandiari, Guy Laliberté, who's the Cirque du Soleil founder, and of course the founder of One Drop, was there. And some big name poker pros. Jesse Lonis was there. Sergio Aedo, Randy Sadler, aka Three Coin, Stephen Jones, who was recently on Squid Game. Shaun Deeb was there. A lot of these guys made the final table. In fact, it was Antonio Esfandiari, the winner of the first ever big one for One Drop, the $1 million buy-in back in 2012, I think it was. He was actually the final table. He was at the final table, but only 5 spots got paid. So he was the bubble boy, and we have the hand. Check it out.
Bye-bye, Antonio. Antonio,
Score after one underdog.
well, he's got a club, too.
9 for Chuck.
Nice.
You know what that means? Probably have to buy dinner now. I'm gonna be pissed.
You can make your dinner. Yeah, you can make your dinner.
Hey, Judge, we got extra 3,000.
Congratulations. Great catch. Because he doesn't care anyway.
I care.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so there you see it. Antonio Esfandiari leaves empty-handed. Steve Swedlow ended up the first in the money, 5th place for $17,200. Jesse Lonis made it in 4th for $22K. 3 Coin in 3rd for $30K. And that left Stephen Jones to do battle with Shaun Deeb. Heads up, Connor, you had a front row seat to it.
I did. So anyone who's played or experienced charity tournaments knows that they go very quickly. The structures have the blinds going up very fast. So once they reach the final table, it was just elimination. It took like probably 30 minutes for them to get heads up. And then all of a sudden you have this pretty deep heads up match between Shaun Deeb and Stephen Jones. And Chad, I thought this was pretty funny because I made this connection because in 2023, Stephen Jones finished runner-up in the main event, and his opponent was Daniel Weinman, who it turns out is one of Shaun Deeb's best friends. They're both members of Team Lucky. So Stephen Jones kind of got this Team Lucky rematch. Of course, much smaller stakes. You know, first place was 70,000 or so, but he got a rematch against Team Lucky, and he ended up beating Shaun Deeb. I believe Shaun Deeb had the chip lead at first, and then Stephen Jones kind of chipped away. And then in the final hand, I think they got all in on the flop, and then Stephen Jones might have hit a gut shot on the turn or something like that. But it was cool to see Stephen Jones pull ahead with the victory because, yeah, he had runner-up in 2023 in the main event, and then he had that close call on Squid Game where he got 3rd place. So he's rounded it all out. He got that first place victory. Hellmuth was still sticking around. Hellmuth emceed the event, and so he got Jones got a nice selfie with Hellmuth and all that. So it was a fun night, and yeah, I'm glad I got to cover it.
Now, we actually have a video of that final hand between Deeb and Stephen Jones. Check it out.
Whoa! It's a queen, and now Shaun, who got it in with the best hand, has 2 wins in the deck. 2 wins to 42 wins. He's a 21-1 underdog. Last card, 9 and only a 9. Whoa! Oh, man. This is close.
Whoa.
Guy Laliberté, it's over. Guy over here. Guy, want to say, come say.
All right, we are back to talk a story that combines the top of the hour story, which was AI, with this most recent charity event, the big deal for One Drop, because PokerNews used AI and ended up pissing off Shaun Deeb. I was spending some time with family this weekend. My phone rang. I seen it was Shaun Deeb. Unfortunately, I couldn't answer at that very moment. And so he texted me, very pissed off, and we proceeded to text back and forth. He since put out a tweet, around the same time saying that, why is everyone poker company's social media team trying to fuck with me? Stop being lazy as hell, using AI to edit your posts and photos. No, I don't have tats. Never will. How do people get paid money to do no work? Do better, PokerNews. Fire that Instagram person. Hire someone who knows what they're doing. Did you take the original photo, Connor?
Yeah, no, I took the original photo. This is one of those photos that I took there at Resorts World because I thought the views were great. I tweeted it out. I actually tagged Las Vegas locally and they shared it. So I sent it to our social media team thinking, hey, this might be a good post, maybe good for some engagement. It's a cool photo. And yeah, just kind of, they tried touching it up and they used an AI tool for that. And if anyone's used these things, they can have a mind of their own and they will make changes that you didn't ask for. And yeah, it was as simple as we didn't notice it, even though it is tattoos on him. It is kind of glaring. We're all working different stops around the world. I think he's in Brazil right now. So again, it was just an oversight, but it ended up kind of being like this perfect storm of just shit you can't make up, where it was the same day as this separate AI scandal. And then also Shaun Deeb had called out a tweet from WPT earlier in the week. So just kind of this perfect storm of him feeling like poker companies were coming after him, us having an oversight, and then being ironic that it happened on the same day as this other scandal. So we're sorry about that, Shaun. We love you. And yeah, the original pic is out there. It's in the article. No tattoos for Shaun Deeb, but he does look great with them.
I when I was chatting with Shaun about it, I wasn't even aware of the social media post. So looked at it and of course reached out, we deleted it. And I said, he's like, it's embarrassing. And I'm like, yeah, it is. Like on the day we put out a article criticizing AI and then we have this here, it is a mistake. I don't know why the filter put sleeves, tattoo sleeves on Shaun Deeb. He does look good. I thought the same thing. I've got a sleeve here on my my left arm.
Yeah.
But I also didn't think the picture needed to be touched up. It was a great picture as it was, right? With a great view.
It didn't need any touch-ups. I think we were trying to, maybe just mess with the saturation or make the sky look brighter or the coloring or whatever it was. But like you said, it was already a good picture and definitely not worth the headache of all that.
Deeb did tweet when somebody said another prop bet getting Shaun full body tat incoming. Shaun said, I couldn't be offered enough money for a tattoo, which I would disagree. I'm sure there's a amount of money right there, but yeah. But no, apologies to Shaun. And that is the danger with AI in general. Even Sarah O'Connor, I mentioned that op-ed she wrote about the ClubWPT Gold'd sashimi video. She admitted that she used AI to help her as a tool in that, and that caused another controversy on its own. I don't use AI. Quite frankly, I never have, because I don't know what I'm doing, if you will. I'm just, an old school guy who resists technology, at least for a while, and then eventually caves. So I'm sure at some point I'm going to start learning the tools, because I do think there are benefits, right? They can help you catch errors and things like that. But then I see the risks associated with it as well. The Shaun Deeb photo, the WSOP documentary. So I just think it is a very fine line that if you're going to use it, not only how you use it is something you need to think about, but also assuring quality control after you use it, which is something we, failed in. And I don't know, Connor, do you use AI as, a tool for anything that you do?
So I use, ChatGPT is the one that I use. I use it for editing purposes, not even really editing. So what I like getting headline ideas for it. So sometimes I'll paste some text from an article and I'll say, hey, can you give me 10 headline variations? And it's just kind of a good exercise in kind of figuring out the different ways to think about things or phrase things. I definitely think it has a lot of people use it to transcribe interviews. I personally don't use it for that. I like listening to my interviews, hearing what people say. It makes it easier to write the story. But no, I don't use it for writing at all, mainly because I don't think that it's a good writer. And I think we're kind of in this era now where maybe a year ago, everybody was super impressed by these AI tools. Now everybody just has fatigue from all the AI slop that they see. People don't like AI videos. And I think AI writing's a lot of the same thing. It's too sterile. It's not human enough. There's no personality in it. But I think that this is good. I think that the poker community or just journalism communities kind of needed this, where we need to start understanding, okay, what is acceptable? Where is the line? What are the acceptable uses of AI? If you publish an article and it's half written by AI, Is that acceptable? I think a lot of people would say no, and a lot of readers are reacting to that stuff. But again, it's kind of like the situation with Dustin, where this is all new territory, and we're still trying to figure out what is acceptable and what's not acceptable. But I think it's good that we're having this conversation. I think it's been a long time coming. I'm a little worried about AI because while it is useful, again, back to the creatively bankrupt disruption, I just think it's also pretty non-creative and can even be a bit lazy. So I don't know. It's a useful tool, but this is good. This is a conversation we've all needed to have.
Yeah, and it's only going to continue not only within the poker world but the larger world, right? Like there was headlines that a AI generated country song had gained top Billboard country digital song sales chart, and I've listened to it.
I have too. Yeah, my God, yeah,
it's good. Like it's really good, scary good. I thought.
We have different tastes, but I know you're the country guy, so I'll trust you on that. But no, I follow it in the music world as well. Yeah, there was a rock band, the Velvet Sundown, I think, that came up, and this is exactly what I mean. Where these are just these, this is all trite, and I'm not a very big fan of AI. It's useful, and I use it for things, but I think it's could destroy culture.
Yeah, what I'm very concerned about is, so I seen a tweet of a video where there were some tourists on a cliffside, and one was holding an umbrella, and a monkey came and took the umbrella and then sailed off over the cliff into the sky. And it was very dramatic, if you will, but it was clearly AI. And there are all kinds of videos like that out there. And then I read a little bit of the comments, and I was just shocked at how many people thought it was real. Which is a scary thought, given AI is only going to advance, and it is going to come to a point where we can't tell the difference. But I was even more concerned that a lot of people, at least in that particular thread, were assuming it was real and then saying, prove me wrong, right? Where I think it needs to be the other way around. Like with certain things, you should assume that it is AI unless proven accurate. And it's a scary thing, especially for an old dog like me, but I don't think it is going anywhere. And there will be more conversations around AI, especially in the poker world. Connor, let's talk some recent tournament winners this week presented by WPT Global, starting with the penultimate stop of the MSPT Season 16 at Ameristar East Chicago. I'm going to get into this in next week's episode of the MSPT podcast with Kinda England, but I did want to mention it here because there were two big storylines coming out of this one. Aaron Johnson, MSPT Hall of Famer, took down the tournament for $92,000. He had just finished runner-up to Anthony Kastelic about a month ago in an MSPT event. So him getting a second title was a big story. But equally as big was Jacob Long, who is a breakout star on the MSPT. He's been in a Player of the Year race with Umut Ozturk, who is the reigning back-to-back MSPT Player of the Year. So he's going for 3 in a row. They're in a very tight race, and Jake Long won 4 out of the 12 events at this stop. They're smaller side events, $200 no limit hold'em, $300 PLO, whatever they might be. But he was getting Player of the Year points, and so I don't know, 4 titles in one series is pretty impressive in and of itself.
Yeah, I'd definitely say so. Yeah, keep an eye on that MSPT stuff. That's pretty crazy.
I'm actually going to go to the final stop the first week in December at Running Aces in Minnesota. It's not that far of a drive from me here in Wisconsin. And I have the itch to play a little bit, so I'll go play, but also I want to be there to keep an eye on this Player of the Year race. So keep an eye open for that. I'll probably be tweeting about it for myself and Poker News while I'm there. You mentioned Brad, our colleague down there in Brazil, a place I've never been, would very much like to go, and that's because of the Brazilian Series of Poker, the BSOP, which crushes down there, is hosting a festival. It's a super high roller series, and there was a 50K super high roller tournament that was won by Felipe Boianovsky for $640K. This, I don't know about you, Connor. Like, I don't think you've ever been to Brazil, correct?
No, I haven't. I want to go.
Yeah, this is one where I was like almost wanted to throw my name in the hat, so to speak, because I would love to get down there. I've met some of the BSOP guys in the past, and they're just doing great things down there. It seems to be like one of the hottest markets in the world. And you know what we should do, Connor? We should use AI. We should use AI to make the podcast in Portuguese so we can appeal to that Brazilian market.
Yeah, we could just do a whole segment putting us in Brazil. So yeah, maybe we can get that cut in this episode.
I actually did hear, speaking of like AI and technology, just a real quick aside, I mentioned a foreign language. One of our editors, Adam Piken, who has been around the poker world for a long time, just informed me that there is, I don't know, some feature on a phone or an app or something where you can basically put in your earbuds and have your phone, and you can go to a foreign country. Like he's going to Prague for EPT. He can set his phone, put his earbuds in. So when somebody speaks to him in Czech, he's hearing it in English. Crazy, right? I think the days of the language barriers could be coming to an end.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. We gotta go somewhere and test that out.
I'll let him test it and then teach me after the fact. Like I said, I resist the technology, at least for a while. One last tournament to cover. That was at the Chainsaw Mixed Series of Poker, the CMSOP at Planet Hollywood in Las Vegas. Connor, you were there every single day. There was a $1,100 horse tournament, which is horse minus the limit hold'em, and instead is it triple draw for the T?
Yeah, deuce to 7 triple draw. Yeah.
And that one was won by Ted Jackson-Spivack for almost $16,000. But what was interesting, Connor, is like he traveled from a long ways away, correct?
Yeah, so he traveled all the way from England, which I thought was interesting because that's a pretty far way to travel for a few weeks long mid-stakes mixed game series. And he completely crushed it. I believe he had 3 victories that series. 2 of them were tournaments that I was covering, including the closing Tours Championship, like you mentioned. So he just completely crushed the series. And there were a lot of guys who seemed to just dominate the whole thing. So of the 3 championship events that I covered, Nick Papillo made the final table of all 3 of them. He had 2 5th-place finishes and then I think a 3rd-place finish. So he completely dominated. Chad, your friend Jeff Madsen made a final table. I think we talked about that on the last episode. And so, yeah, a lot of these recurring players, I was talking to some of our colleagues and I was saying, I feel like I would be actually drawing dead if I sat down in one of these tournaments, because when you get to a final table of an $1,100 buy-in event and there's WSOP Player of the Year, Mid-Major Player of the Year, all these things, it's just kind of crazy. So that was a really fun series to play at. Shout out to Anthony and everybody at the Planet Hollywood Poker Room. That's got to be one of the most underrated poker spots in Vegas. It's up there on the 2nd floor. So yeah, had a fun time working there.
The question is Alan Kessler happy? That's the most important thing, Connor. Was he happy with what you did, with what PokerNews did?
Well, it's one of those kind of no news is good news things, because he did not screenshot any of my hands saying that I got some mixed game terminology wrong or anything like that. So I'm going to take that as a success. I think Alan would be happy.
All right, Connor. Well, before we end this episode, it is Thanksgiving as this episode comes out. So I do want to ask, what are you thankful for this year? I want to, give me something that you're thankful for personally, and then something that you're thankful for in the poker world. And then, I will do the same.
Yeah, I'll say I'm thankful for family, specifically one of my younger sisters, Abby. She is about to have a baby and it'll be the first grandchild of our family. So she's having a baby boy. Shout out to Abby and her boyfriend Porter. And I'm grateful for, again, I'm 30 years old, but I don't have any nieces or nephews or kids of my own or anything. So it's kind of like a pivotal point in my life. I'm excited. So that's on the personal side. On the poker side of things, I'm just going to go ahead and say I'm glad that I have writing as a talent. With all this conversation about AI being used in writing, and Chad, you mentioned you don't use it. I'm just kind of glad that I don't have those temptations. Like I said, I do like using it for things, but I just think it's so bad for writing or music as well. We talked about that. So yeah, I'm grateful for my writing abilities, honestly.
Yeah, that's fair. And you've written some great stuff this year. Unfortunately, won't get recognized at the Global Poker Awards because, as we talked about last week, they are no more. As for me, I am thankful on a personal aspect of, so a lot of listeners might know that I made the decision late last year, to relocate from Las Vegas back to Wisconsin, which is where I'm from, and ended up completing that right before Christmas of last year. So it's almost a year now. And one of the reasons I did that, made that decision, was I wanted to be closer to my friends and family, and specifically my folks who are getting up there, and they've been divorced since I was very young, and both are single. I have a half sister with my dad, but I am my mom's only child. And unfortunately, right now, my mom is going through some very serious health things. And, that's going to suck, and we're going to deal with that. But I'm very thankful right now that I made the decision to come back when I did, because I can't imagine being out in Las Vegas still right now when this would be going on. So just thankful that I made the decision, that it seems to have been the right decision, and that I am closer to family during this time. So, and then from a poker perspective, I would say I was thankful for the No Limit docu series that I got to be on and be featured in, but that's out the window at this point, for now at least. I am thankful for the opportunity to go to the MSPT, which is near and dear to my heart, because I did work for that tour as the media director for 3 years, from 2016, 17, and 18. Thankful that we have a sister show to the PokerNews Podcast, which is the MSPT podcast presented by PokerNews, which I host with Kinda England. And thankful for, and sharing this for the first time, that we will be debuting another show, a third show, that will only be once a month. I can't get into too many details quite yet. It will debut, I believe, in the new year. It is going to be devoted to solely, like the MSPT is devoted solely to the MSPT, this new show will be devoted solely to one of the bigger poker operators in the US. So pretty excited about that, Connor. I don't even know if you knew about that.
No, this is the first I'm hearing about it. So I'm trying to figure it out myself as you're talking about it.
Well, that's going to do it for episode 927 of the PokerNews Podcast. Connor, thank you for taking the time to join me from Level 9 Studio in Las Vegas. Mike, you're going to call me or text me some point today and let me know what's going on. Hopefully you will be back next week. Ben Ludlow, I believe, will be back as well. We will have all the latest and greatest from the poker world. Happy Thanksgiving to those of you listening or watching from the US. Until then, we'll keep a seat open for you.